can't believe we're already halfway through the year, but it's time for the mid-year freakout tag. Hi, I'm Sarah and welcome to CoreMoodz, and today I'll be talking to you about the mid-year freakout tag. I love tags, and this tag I have been seeing around for a really long time. So I looked up the original creators of the tag and I got two answers. Eli from Earl Grey Books and Chami from Read Like Wildfire. I'm going to leave a link to their channels and also to the videos if I can in the description. There are a few questions. I'm going to try to answer them. I'm very excited. I'm sweating a little because we're going through a heat wave, so I hope that's not distracting. The first question is, best book you've read so far in 2026? And I have three books that immediately come to mind. Three books that I give 5 stars, three books that I love, three books that all three affected me in a very different way. So the first book is The Sparrow by Mary Doria Russell. And this book is about basically Earth finds this signal and they decipher it and they figure out that there's this alien civilization living somewhere trying to make contact. For some reason, the religious entities are the ones that gather the funding and get to send a spaceship within record time. Of course, they send a priest. This priest is very talented when it comes to languages. It's a small party and they go to this planet in hopes of bringing these entities, people, creatures under the umbrella of God. We start the story with just one person returning. This person is traumatized. This person is mutilated and this person is refusing to say anything about what happened there and why the rest of the crew members didn't return. This book is so interesting because it's not just about communicating and language, but also about expectations and also what is the norm and what is the framework. How do you think and how do you come to conclusions? If I do something and if someone else does something, I can interpret their behavior and they can interpret my behavior without knowing what I'm thinking and without me knowing what they're thinking. But we're both human. We don't make the same assumptions when we talk about animals or when we talk about plants or when we talk about viruses or bacteria. So I just don't understand why humans going into a very far planet will expect that whatever life form is there that is intelligent, that is sending this signal, would have the same morals or ethics that humans have. But I thought philosophically it was a really interesting book, so it really stayed with me. I'm going to try to read the second book as fast as I can. So the second book is Gunmetal Gods. I really love the Gunmetal Gods series by Zamil Akhtar, and if I had to pick one book, the first book, Gunmetal Gods, is an amazing entry to the series, and I really love Death Rider, the novella. I'm now reading the third book. I liked Gunmetal Gods, the series, because the conflicts are very interesting because you can see everyone's sides, and there is morality, there is religion, there are people's motivations and shifting alliances, and also who is bringing the word of God and who are the true gods, and what if there are multiple gods. The characters are interesting, the plot is interesting, the world is interesting, the writing is amazing. I'm just in awe. And the third book is There's No Anti-Memetics Division by QNTM or Stephen Hughes, and I love this book. This book was dark, this book was scary, horrifying, a very interesting sci-fi book. The concepts verge on the cosmic, but they have something very relatable and something very odd and terrifying. I am amazed by this book. It's a book that I didn't expect to like, and I just picked up. I thought the title was interesting and the author's name, QNTM, Quantum. I thought, what's that about? I love books when you finish the book, you have hundreds of questions because the concept was so intriguing. The discussions, the curiosity that it sparks within me. I just love books that start at the end, if that makes sense. The second question is best sequel you've read so far this year. I also have three. Two of them are the books I read from the Gunmetal Gods series, so I'm not gonna repeat my love of this series. The other book that I want to mention is The Singing Hills Cycle. I think it's book 5 or 6, A Mouthful of Dust by Niveau. I really love this book. It was so dark and so intense, and I just never expect the direction that these tiny books are gonna go into. I love the folklore, I love the writing, I just love everything about the series. And it's making me curious about picking up something else by Niveau because I have not read anything outside of this series. So if you know what book I should pick up, let me know in the comments. The third question is, what are new releases you have not read yet but really want to? First of all, Honey by Imani Thompson. I love female rage books, especially if they are horror books. I'm going to try to find a moment to read this book as soon as possible. The second book is Bodies of Work by Clay McLeod Chapman, and I read another book by this author. I thought it was very interesting, and when I saw that they came out with a new book, I just thought, let me just read it. I'm just gonna go into this new book by this author without even knowing what it's about. The most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I only have one book that I want to talk about. Is book 3 in the Shadow of Leviathan series, A Trade of Blood by Robert Jackson Bennett. I really love the first and second book in this series. I thought it was a very interesting concept and very odd characters, but very intriguing. reading, so I want to read the third book and just finish this series. The fifth question is, what are the biggest disappointments of this year? I think the library at Helborn, like Sandra Kaw, was very disappointing to me because it read very chaotic. Characters were too flat, so I just had no interest. I don't even know what I did at the end of it. So I'm disappointed by this book. I'm also disappointed by Orbital by Samantha Harvey, because the book, while being short, while having an interesting concept, I love meandering and just reflecting and just being in the characters' minds and understanding how they view the Earth while they're orbiting around it. I just didn't understand the overall point, and I just felt like maybe if the characters were a little bit better established, but the book is very short. I think the author was more focused on the concept and less on the characters, so something about this book feels very hollow. Two other disappointments were The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hudson, and this book was a fun time, it was okay, and I think I just like my fantasy a little bit darker, a little bit more intense, a little bit more. The book had like a little bit of light humor. I don't think it's the kind of mood that I read, and I don't think the characters and motivations were well established and well rounded, in my opinion. And the last book that I was disappointed by is The Fisherman by John Langan, and mostly because of the structure of the story. I think the writing was okay, and I love the middle part where it gets very Eldic terror-y. Something about the way the story was structured didn't work for me. The sixth question is, what are the biggest surprises for me so far? And I would have to say The Blind Owl by Sadiq Hidayat, translated by D.P. Costello. This author is an Iranian author. I think it was translated from Farsi, and I love this book, and I didn't even expect. I thought it was going to be some historical fiction story, maybe a little bit of a poetic angle, but this book was just a horror, and I just did not expect that when I went into it, so I was flabbergasted, and I loved everything about it. Seventh question is, name a favorite new author, debut or new to you. I have a couple of authors in mind. First of all, At Night, All Blood is Black by David Diop. I really love this book. This book was so dark, so intense, so gory. The trauma this character goes through, the intensity and the repetition and the dissociation. I just love this book. This book is written by David Diop. He's a French Senegalese author, and it's translated from the French to English. The second book is A Splintering by Dur-e-Aziz Amna. This story is set in Pakistan. I love this story. It's a story with a woman at the center, and she is not doing what's expected from her. She has ambition, she has a plan, and she wants to get where she thinks she deserves. And I really love the journey of this character, even though it was intense and painful, and I don't know if she ends up where she wants to be, but I just love that spirit of just forever wanting to improve yourself, improve your life, and that of your children. I'm really gonna try to find more books by Dur-e-Aziz Amna. I'm not sure if this is debut, but I really want to read more by this author. And the last author is Like a Mule Bringing Ice Cream to the Sun by Sara Ladib Komanika. I really love this author. I really love the way this author wrote the main character in this book. This is a well-rounded character. She has opinions, she has a life, and she knows what she wants, and she makes mistakes. And I just loved to see her. It felt like watching a snippet of someone's life. Eighth question is newest fiction crush or favorite character. And I don't crush. I don't really care if a character is likable. So that's not something I measure. How can I explain this? I can admire characteristics that the character has. For example, the book I just mentioned, Like a Mule Bringing Ice Cream to the Sun. The main character is an older Nigerian American woman, and I loved everything about her. When she messed up, I loved when she owned it, and I loved when she was in denial. I loved every aspect about the way she expressed herself and how raw and honest she was. But I don't really connect to characters in that way, so answering this question is a little bit hard. The ninth question, a book that made me cry. I would have to say Model Home by River Solomon. Books where children suffer and are mistreated are really hard for me to read, so I had a couple of moments where character really made me feel for them, and a tear or two was shed. So I think this book is fitting for this question as an answer. And I've heard from a lot of people that they don't like this book, and I understand that the structure was a little bit unusual, and some parts that were not as strong as others, and there were some holes and gaps in the mystery. But I just love the emotions and the impact. I think that is this author's strength. So I just love when they release a new book, and I have Sorrowland by them, so I'm gonna read that soon. 10th question is a book that made me happy, and I will have to say A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms by George R.R. Martin. It's still a dark book because it's George R.R. Martin, but it had fun, cheeky moments, and I really enjoyed Dunk and Egg. I thought they were both very interesting and very funny at times. The 11th question is favorite audiobook of 2026 so far. And I have two. The first one is Dear Centurion, a Black Spirit memoir by Akweke Emezi. It's narrated by the author themselves. I just love when Akweke Emezi narrates a book. I think really they are great in whatever they create. And I thought because this is a memoir, it made it more impactful to have the author speak for themselves. And the second audiobook I want to mention is There's No Anti-Memetics Division by QNTM or Sam Hughes, and it's narrated by Rebecca Calder. And this audiobook is the audiobook I'm mentioning because it had like special effects. Some elements were muted. It was very interesting and very creative how they decided to bring to life the multimedia aspect of the physical book. I love it when they go in a creative way when it comes to the audiobook. The 12th question is, what is the most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received? I just filmed the haul, and I think it's going to be the next video coming out. And I think I mentioned all the books that I bought this year so far. So watch the video and you tell me what is the most beautiful book that I bought. And the last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? And my TBR is ever growing. So I have a list of books that I want to get. I want to finish the Gunmetal to God series. I want to finish Mocha by Monica Kim, and I want to make a video about it because I thought this book is so interesting. Mocha is the Korean word for hidden camera, and this is a very big problem, especially when it comes to women's safety. And now that we are in a digital age, there have been a lot of cases all over the world where hidden cameras have been causing issues and troubles. And I'm gonna do a little bit of a deep dive into the word, into the concept, into the social phenomena, and linking it to not just the South Korean situation, but the situation all over the world. I'm now editing the video about The Changeling by Victor Laval, and after that I want to focus on Mocha by Monica Kim. I also want to read The Witch that I mentioned by Marie Ndaye, because I just want to know, why do people hate this book? But mostly I just want to finish my summer TBR. I want to get to every book that I plan to read in my 26 books to read in 2026 video. So far I have 11 books left, so I'm on schedule. The first half of 2026 has been very exciting and also very turbulent. I read 64 books so far. My average rating is 4.2. DNF'd only one book so far, Toad by Catherine Dunn. I really feel like this year has been an amazing reading year, especially because I've been reading a lot of books that I've been waiting to read for a really long time. I took a break in April, and I think that was a really good time because I just needed to reset and just take care of myself and my health, and I think that was a good idea. So I'm gonna try to plan ahead and see if I can take a break here and there, but also consistently put out videos because I really love doing this. How did the first half of 2026 go for you? What are the best books that you've read? What are books that disappointed you? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and bye.